So when I first sat down to write about mothers, two things immediately came to mind. The first one was a BDSM club or a party called Mother. And the second was my mother catching me fucking a banana peel. So we'll start with the banana peel incident. So I was, my father was already dead, so I was older than 12, and my second older sister was still living at home, so I had to be younger than 15. And I was in my bedroom, and I had this Playboy. It was a special collector's edition, which basically meant it was all pictures and had no articles. And there was this one picture, it was my favorite picture. It was of this redhead, and she had her hair back in a ponytail, and she was sitting on this white couch, and she had her feet up on this white ottoman, and kind of facing towards me. And she had her legs crossed at the ankle, and she had this little tuft of red hair between her legs. That was my favorite. Anyway, I had this friend, Tiffany, who was older than me. She was actually the best friend of my best friend's sister. And she got me to watch some French foreign movie. It was The Bicycle Thief, or I think it was actually My Life as a Dog. And in this movie, there's this scene with this little kid, and he's poor, and he gets this slab of meat. I think he gets sent to the butcher. And he gets this idea, and I have no idea where he gets this idea because I would have never have thought of it if I hadn't seen him do it. But he decides he's gonna fuck it. And he takes it to his bedroom, and he does, like right there on screen. And in front of Tiffany, she's sitting right next to me. There's probably other people around too, I don't remember. And the next scene is like this revenge scene where, you know, it's suddenly on the kitchen table and his whole family's eating it. So it was crazy. But this was a complete revelation to me that you could fuck things and not just your fist. So, how I came up with the banana peel, I suppose, was a process of elimination, right? You go down to the kitchen cabinets and you open them up and you see what you got. You know, I got Cheerios, that's not gonna work. I got cream mushroom soup, that's just gonna get everywhere. Apples, no. Oranges, too sticky. Bananas, that's kind of the inverse of what I want, you know. Wait, but banana peel. Wait, banana peel's perfect. It's kind of slippery on the inside, but it comes off in sections, right? So when you peel a banana peel, it kind of comes off in sections. And even if you peel just a little bit off and you kind of pull the banana out, it's still got this section and you slip out. I mean, see, what I did was I took the banana up to my room, I peeled it as best I could, I ate it, and then I put the banana peel between the box spring and the mattress of my bed. And then it was great, because then I could put the magazine on the bed in front of me, kneel down, slip my cock in, and fuck it, except I kept slipping out, right, because of the whole section thing. So then I figured out that if you get a paper towel tube and you put the banana peel inside the paper towel tube and you put that between the boxes, the mattress and the box spring, it's perfect, right? So that's what I did. And after you come, the whole thing stays together and you can just take the whole thing and throw in the trash compactor. Perfect. So there I am, I'm in my bedroom, down on my knees, I got the redhead out in front of me and I'm humping away at the bed, humping away at the banana spring, and the door opens. So, I mean, to understand my mother, you have to understand that she was a coal miner's daughter, literally, the mountains of Pennsylvania. She shat in an outhouse, she lugged coal for heat. When she was at school and that alarm went off, that was her father blown up in an explosion. It was her uncle trapped under a rock. It was her best friend's older brother run over by a cart. So coming home from work alive, eating, staying warm, these were the priorities of her day, right? Her parents emigrated from Slovakia. Her grandparents emigrated from Slovakia. Her parents lived through the Great Depression, the World Wars, right? So I get that I get to complain, right? I get to stand here on their shoulders with my foot in their face and contemplate my sexuality as it relates to my mother only because of the work that they did. They dug the foundation, framed the walls, shingled the roof, and now I occupy it. But it's kind of out of respect for that almost, I have an obligation to build a world that's better than the one that they built, just like their parents did for them, So I have a duty to stand up here and call my mother a fucking cunt. She screamed, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I jumped off the floor and got into bed, and I pulled the sheets, uncovered me, and the magazine hit the floor, and she saw it. So, "What is that?" What is this? She went over and she picked it up. So what is this? What is this filth doing in my house? What is this trash doing in my house? Oh, I'm asking you a question, young man. Oh, and everything just, my whole being just like receded into like my chest and my gut, and I was just gonna throw up. My mind was just blank. I just sat there. She started to pace back and forth. Not in my house, not in my house. Christy, Susie! Oh, fuck. Come in here, please. Oh. Come on, girls, your brother's room now. Eventually, they peeked their head in around the door and looking in. And my older sister, Christy, is a blonde, feathered back Farrah Fawcett look. And my younger sister was probably, she had to be like 12, with straight hair, brown hair. And they're looking at me with this like look of like fear and concern, which kind of combined in this look of like, if we could get you out of here, we would. But that just, it wasn't an option. Come on, come in the room, come in there, come on. And they came in the room. I want you to see what your brother's doing. I want you to see what your brother's looking at. Is this what you think of women? Is this what you think of your sisters? Is this what you think of me? Every once in a while, we wind up that Tiffany and I would end up sleeping over at the Hendersons on the same night. And the girls would come home later, right, because they were older and we were younger. So Tom and I would be in bed. He'd be in his bed and I'd be in a cot in his room. The lights would be out. And Tiffany would come into the room with the lights still out, and she'd kneel down next to the cot, and she'd put her head down on the cot. She'd ask me how I was doing. And she just, eventually we'd just whisper, and then we'd stop talking, and then she'd just stare at me. These gorgeous big blue eyes. I could smell her hairspray. To this day, that Aquanet smell is just the smell of acceptance. My mother's question, is this what I think of women? I think what my mother didn't get is that I didn't have an overall view of women. I didn't have a way of thinking about women. I was just reactions. I mean, I just had erections. I had emotions and thoughts. And there were some girls I liked. There were some girls I liked talking to. And there were some girls I thought were cool. And then there were some girls I just thought were bitches. And I thought were impossible. Even my sisters. At times I just thought they were complete morons, and at other times I just loved them to death. But I had no view, you know? In fact, you know, no one had taught me that yet. No one had taught me what all this meant. No, but in that moment, my mother was giving me my meaning. Now, my mother was not all that bad. In fact, in a lot of ways, she was a remarkable mother. Her husband died when she was 42. I mean, I'm older than that now, right? She had 5 kids that she put through college. I don't know what it takes to do that. I don't know if I could do that. But in that moment, the magazine wasn't trash, I was. The magazine wasn't filth, I was. And more importantly, this is what my mother thought of me. This is what women thought of me. And now this is what I thought of me. And years later, my mother was actually up at my sister Christy's graduation up in Vermont, and it was the night of my junior prom actually, and I decided to throw this huge party. My little sister and I decided to throw it, but it was really my party. And Tiffany calls, and she's home from college, and she wants to get together. She wants to see me. This is great. I'm having a party. My parents aren't home. So she comes over, and of course we end up in my bed, and we're making out, and things are getting hot and heavy, and this was like for me, this was like a dream. This was like I couldn't believe this was happening. And we're right in the middle of it, and she stops and she whispers in my ear, "Make love to me." Those words, "Make love to me." God, in some ways I think I'm still chasing that moment. I said no. All the times that I had been with women up until that point, and girls really, dry humping and coming in my pants and hand jobs and blow jobs, and maybe the 1 or 2 times I had actually had sex, the first thought that came into my mind after I came, the first thought after orgasm was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. She meant too much to me. So I was 30, married to Kate, a woman who's 11 years older than I am. Oh, she'd rather I not tell you that. My son Jake was 2, and I was at the end of my rope. See, my mother that day lost her battle with shame. And she passed that demon onto me. And everything that I had managed to throw up to defend myself against that beast, people-pleasing and caretaking and twisting myself into this, anything that anybody wanted me to be, was failing. And I was being filled with resentment and rage. And I was becoming my mother. And I knew it. And I was losing. I was losing that battle. And the one thing I knew that I couldn't do was pass that on to my son. I was not going to do that to him. So I knew I had to face it. I didn't know how. I mean, I also knew that I kind of had to be, I had to be this way. I mean, I had to be like my mother. Her ways of being formed me. It was like a tree growing on a windy bluff. It has to grow sideways to survive. But how do you get out of this? How do you get out of this trap? And the only thing that I could think to do was to just, with as much love and grace and respect, follow my instincts and my impulses, no matter where they went, no matter what anybody thought. But that meant facing my worst nightmare, which was hurting somebody that I love. So I sat Kate down and I said, I have 3 choices. I can follow my impulses, I can follow my instincts no matter where they lead, no matter what it means, but I don't know what that means for our marriage. I don't know what it means for our family. I don't know where this is gonna go. Or I can do the monogamy thing, I can do the perfect family thing, and I can end up a fat, angry old man. Or I could put a bullet in my head. She was crying. She knew that our relationship was over. I mean, the relationship she thought we were going to have was over. I mean, it could end up in divorce. It could end up with me dead. It could end up with who knows. But what she didn't do, she didn't get angry. She told me that she wanted me to do whatever it is that I needed to do, and that one way or another, no matter what happened, she'd be there for me. Which brings me back to Mother, the BDSM club. So I actually never went to this club because it was actually closed before I even got around to it. But this was the 90s or whatever, and it was in my AOL chat room research, and I had heard people were talking about it, but it was what I came across on my way to Hellfire. And Hellfire was not a club. Hellfire was a dungeon. And Hellfire was not like the fancy leather gyno chairs, padded cages dungeon. This was dirt and stone and underground. And it was actually in the meatpacking district when the meatpacking district was still a meatpacking district. It's actually in the building kitty corner to where the Mac store is now, ironically. And I don't need to go into a whole bunch of detail about it, but the memory or the image that I have is of me in a dark room on my knees, my pants pulled down, my cock in my hand, and a group of people standing in a doorway watching me as a woman in her 40s dressed from head to toe in leather is beating me with a flogger and ordering me to come. Now I can take these 2 images and overlay them like transparencies. I'm in my room, I'm on my knees, I'm in a place called Hellfire. People in the doorway watching, my sisters are in the doorway. There's a woman standing above me, beating me. But this time, she's ordering me to come.